Hello and welcome back to my channel. As you can probably guess by the title, today I want to talk about a series that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, at least the people on Bookstagram. No shame to any of them, but I kind of wanted to give my opinion on these books and go from there. So, From Blood and Ash, right? Let's talk about this. Also, yes, I only did makeup on my eyes and on my face because I just felt like it. Too lazy to do the face today, and that is a decision I made as an adult. So, hooray for decision making. So I started reading this series last year during quarantine. When I first heard about it, I purchased the first two books and read them back to back, and it was okay. And so I recently bought the third book and I read it, and it was bad. It was bad, I'm sorry. I think that my main problem with this book is not necessarily the series itself, but the fact that everyone seems to love it and it makes me feel like I'm missing something. Now, I don't want to come across like I'm shitting on this book because it's popular. It just happens to be popular and I happen to not like the series. Will I keep reading it? Probably, because it keeps ending on a cliffhanger and I feel like I need to know what happens just so I can not have FOMO in the Bookstagram community. I really cannot see the appeal in these books, at least not to the degree that it's been blown up to. So the first thing I really have a concern about is Castile/Hawk's personality. I feel like when Hawk was first introduced, he came across as, you know, this handsome, strong, but clever and humorous guy, and he was really nice to Poppy in terms of validating her emotions and things like that. But at this point, he hasn't really shown much character development and really seems to serve only as someone who affirms Poppy and her strength and bravery and courageousness. Courage is the word I'm looking for. I'm a reader. Now don't get me wrong, I think that it's amazing for a guy to support a girl to the extent that Castile does, though. I feel like in a book it just kind of takes away from his personality, and I would rather see more of him just being Castile rather than being there solely to tell Poppy what a great person she is. We all know she's great. I also think that the series tries to carve out a spot for itself as an adult fantasy, which is fine, but when you compare it to other adult fantasies like Game of Thrones, The Bridge Kingdom, can The Way of Kings be counted as an adult fantasy? If so, let's throw that in there. I feel like it kind of misses the mark. The problem with it is that it sacrifices a lot of the actual world building elements and being developed into a really great fantasy for the romance. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do see a lot of people recommending it as one of the best fantasy books of all time, the best fantasy they've read. At the end of the day, it is what it is. That's people's opinions, which is never wrong, but I do think it is a little bit misleading to show someone, hey, this is a really great fantasy, and then they delve into it and it's just like sex scenes. So again, it's not problematic in and of itself that it's labeled as a fantasy, that people describe it as the best fantasy book they've ever read, but the problem comes with the fact that people go into it expecting a lot of great world building, and that's just not there. If people talk about this book with a disclaimer that it has a lot of romance in it, I feel like that's okay. Now, my next concern with the series is with the writing. It is just so repetitive that I feel like hundreds of pages can be cut out and it will be totally fine. The main thing that's really repetitive about this book is the way that information gets revealed to the reader. We have a lot of Poppy asking questions, and the dialogue when she asks questions is the same. Poppy says, "I have a question," and then Kieran says, "Oh, no way, you do?" in his sarcastic tone of voice. So it's just, we know what to expect as a reader, and when it comes over and over again, it gets really frustrating. I feel like there are other literary devices that can be used to achieve this revealing of information, and it's just not fun to constantly have to read the same dialogue over and over again. That feels like it's just getting recycled at this point. My final issue that I'll talk about today is the plot of the series. So far, it's been... Okay, no, scratch that. Let me start over. For the first two books, it was relatively easy to follow along. I feel like there were a lot of plot holes if I looked deeper into the story, but I just kind of read it on the surface level and, you know, took it for what it was. And it was fun. It was engaging. You wanted to know what happened next. You want to know where the story was going. But I feel like at this point it's getting a little bit messy and tangled, and it seems as if the story doesn't know where it's going. Maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, and that's totally fine. Some people read it and they don't have a problem understanding it at all, but I feel like it's gotten to the point where there's so many twists and turns that we don't know which character we can trust as a reader and who we can, and I feel like that's problematic this far into a series. I also feel like, despite the fact that there are a lot of twists, none of them really come off as this big grand surprise because it's all led up to by the fact that Poppy's asking questions about it all. For example, she has so many questions about her lineage that by the time we do find out about her lineage in the third book, it's not really a surprise. It's just, okay, that makes sense. Anyway, those are my main concerns with the series. I don't want this to discourage anyone from picking the series up or forming their own opinions of it, but I just wanted to kind of get it out there that I feel like I'm missing something with this series, and these are the main gripes I had with it. So if anyone can convince me that I'm wrong with any of these, please do so. I encourage, discourse and discussion all the time, especially around books, and if someone can help me understand why this has amazing ratings and why people seem to really love this book, please do so. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye!